In my travels, I get to meet some interesting people. Sometime back, I was in one of the very interior parts of the world in a village, and I was talking to this woman. Very interesting. This lady just came up, and she had a son with her. And she was telling me that as this boy was born, he had some mental challenges. He was a special need child, and it was a very difficult time for her, not only for her but for the son. This was her third son. The other two boys were really physically fit, very popular, had a lot of friends, but this boy was often isolated. He was alone and sad. That made the mother to think that there is something really terrible, and she was discouraged, broken. And in midst of that, she told me I had to do something. As I was reading from the Gospel of John, chapter 6, verses 11 to 13, there's a very powerful scripture where Jesus says, He says this, He had fed a large crowd of people with just 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. And then it says that after they were all fed full, Jesus looked at the disciples and said, Pick up all the broken pieces, the leftover ones, let nothing go waste. I just looked at that and I stopped and I said, Jesus is bothered about the broken leftover, the ones which have been discarded by these people who were fed and full and were ready to leave. And the disciples picked those pieces, the broken, the leftover ones, and the scripture says they were full of 12 baskets. It is powerful. Jesus never let those brokenness, those leftover parts of our lives to go waste. He says, pick them up. Do not throw them out. We may be going through some brokenness. I don't know, in your life, there must be something which has caused some wounds, some pains, some deep hurts, which you are kind of trying to mask and ignore, discard. But Jesus is saying, I need those things. I need you to pick those up. Let nothing of those moments go waste. Those are sacred things, powerful things. God can use, build, and bring something beautiful out of that. As I was talking to this woman, she was saying she kept believing, she kept praying for this child, although he was going through some difficult phase. But one day God touched him. God changed him. And that day, as I was looking at this boy, I could see a very smart young boy with a great future, because someone believed that this is not a broken piece, or this is not something which should be left over. The mother believed and she received something beautiful out of that. And I think it's going to be a great future for that child. The same thing applies to us. Those were not the broken pieces, leftover ones. Jesus was saying just gather, because those were the ones Jesus had actually blessed, broken, and had spoken over and touched. That's the one. If you look back in our lives, we might be able to see those places where God has actually touched, which may have looked like a broken or wounded spot, but when God picks those up, He gives a new life, a fresh meaning, a bright future. May God bless you with these verses.